This practice midterm that we have here is almost identical to the actual midterm. The only difference is that the actual midterm is multiple choice. The actual midterm is 20 questions instead of 21. But for the most part, question 1 will be very similar to question 1, except for maybe the numbers 4, 6 changed to 3, 5. I don't know, right? So we're changing one or two details. If you understand this practice test, you'll be able to do really well on the midterm. So it says write the point-slope form of an equation for the line that passes through the point with the given slope. So first of all, we need to remember what point-slope form is. And there's a point-slope form right there. And of course, we need to remember that x1, y1 is the coordinate. That's this guy right here, x1, y1. And the m value is what they give you right here, 5/2. So it's just a question of rewriting it. Y minus y1, I'm going to leave a blank spot, equals parentheses, not parentheses, m, which I'm going to leave a blank spot, parenthesis, x minus x1. So pretty much I left the m blank and I left the x1, y1 blank. So the x1, y1 I'm going to get from the coordinate 4, 6, x1, y1. And the m is obviously right here, 5/2. So instead of y1, I'm going to write 6. Instead of x1, I'm going to write 4. And instead of the m value right here, I'm going to write the m value of 5/2. And they're asking for point-slope form, so guess what? We're done. That's too easy, almost. If they would have said slope-intercept, then you'd have to distribute the 5/2 or multiply everything by 2 to get rid of the fraction, and then distribute the 5 and then get the y by itself. But since it says write it in point-slope form, that's it. Number 2, write the equation in standard form. Okay, so we need to remember what standard form is. There it is. And of course, remember the A, B, and C are capitalized to help you remember that you don't want what? You don't want fractions or decimals. And most of the time, the A value, they want it to be positive. On open-ended tests, if you happen to write the A value as negative, that's fine. But on this multiple choice, I believe they write the A value as positive. So, in other words, this doesn't look like this right now. All we need to do is get rid of the parentheses. And how could he do that? How do you get rid of these parentheses? Distribute, yeah, multiply. 4 times x, that's 4x. 4 times 2, that's 8. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y, the minus 9. Okay, so we still need the x's and y's on the left side of the equal sign. So we don't want this x on the right side. We want it on the left side. So I need to get rid of 4x. Let me zoom in a little so we have more space. I want to subtract 4x. Cancels. Subtract 4x. And 4x, you can't really subtract it with the y, so all you could do is rewrite it. Now, we also need to move the negative 9, move it to the other side. So if you want to do 2 steps in one, go for it. Just be careful. You might get confused. I want to go plus 9 to get rid of the 9. Plus 9 over here. And over here I could get 17. 8 plus 9 is 17. So let me rewrite what I have. Right here, I can't really combine it, so let me just rewrite it. That's a negative 4x, positive y. Bring down the equal sign. The x's are gone. They canceled out. 8 plus 9 is 17. And that looks like standard form. If this were an open-ended test, I would say leave it like that. That's fine. But like I said, most multiple choice tests, they change the a value to be positive 1. So how could we do that? You'd have to multiply everything times it by negative 1 to change all the signs. So your final answer on your multiple choice midterm will be positive 4x minus y equals negative 17. So far, everybody has an A+, yeah? I hope so. The next one, it says graph an equation using a table. Now that's kind of silly because you don't have to use a table. And honestly, I wouldn't use a table. We have better ways of graphing lines. All you got to do is rewrite it in slope-intercept form and you know how to graph it. If you want to use a table, go for it. But to tell you the truth, on the multiple choice test, they're going to give you 4 different graphs that are already graphed. So if you were to just change it to slope-intercept form, subtracting 3x, you're going to have y equals negative 3x plus 1. And now you could think of it as y equals mx plus b. So what's my b value? Where does it cross the y-axis? Crosses at 1, okay? Now from that point, what do? It's negative 3, so yeah, down 3, and if you want it to look like a fraction, put it over 1. So you're going to go down 3. From this point, you're going to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. You always run to the right. So so that would be right here. So your line is this far, so far. And if you want to keep going, extend the line using the same slope pattern, negative 3 over 1. So you could go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, and you're right there on the edge. So there's our line so far. And you could even go backwards. Up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. But the bottom line is the graph's already going to be there for you. All you got to do is look at 4 different lines and see which one is the correct graph. Okay? Any questions on number 3? It's easy, right? So on this guy, it's a system of equations, and you need to find the 2 answers that work for the system, the x value and the y value. So I say go ahead and use graphing if you like, or you could just solve the way you normally would with substitution or with linear combinations. So since both of them are set up to graph y equals mx plus b, it might be a good idea to graph them. The first one crosses at 10, and I want to do this one in blue. First one crosses at 10, way up here on the edge, and from that point I want to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, and I want to keep going down 1, 2, 3 over 1, keep going down 1, 2, 3 over 1, and so on and so on. Let's graph the other one. The other one crosses at negative 2. I want to do this one in red. Actually, not red. Let's go black. So it crosses at negative 2, and from that point, I'm going to go up 1 over 1, and up 1 over 1, and up 1 over 1, and you'll see that that's where the point of intersection will be at. Okay, and what is that coordinate? 3, 1. So ladies and gentlemen, your answer is 3, 1. So on the test, I believe they give you 4 different graphs of lines intersecting each other. So on the test, they're going to give you this system, but they're going to give you 4 different graphs of lines that cross at different points. So I think the easiest way to do it would just be look at the lines and check the point of intersection. Like this one's 3, 1, and you just plug in 3 for x, 1 for y, see if it works. So if you plug in a 3 right here, it's going to be negative 3 times 3, that's negative 9. Negative 9 plus 10 really is 1. So it would work for the top one. If you plug in a 3 right here, it's going to say 3 take away 2, and that's really the y value of 1 right there for y. So 3 take away 2 really does equal 1 also, so you double check it that way. So on the test, look at your graphs, look at their point of intersection. That way you could test them and see if it works, and it's that simple. Like right here, you actually had to graph. On the test itself, it's already going to be graphed for you. This guy also, feel free to graph to find the answer. Of course, on the test, it'll already be graphed. Some will be wrong graphs, but all you got to do is think about this. This top guy crosses at 6, and the bottom one also crosses at 6, right? So the top one crosses at, okay, here's 0, 0. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. It crosses right there. And what happens is that it goes up 6 over 1. So in other words, that's going to be a steep line, but it crosses right there. And the other one also crosses at that same value, and it goes up 3 over 1. Did I do that wrong? Yes, I did. Anyways, you don't even need this, all right? You don't need this. We already know that both lines cross at the b value of 6. The b value is 6 on both. That means it has the y-intercept of 6, which means that they both cross the y-axis at what coordinate? 0, 6. Simple as that, guys. So 0, 6 is the solution. How could you be absolutely sure that 0, 6 is the answer? Plug it in. Plug in 0 for x, 6 for y. So 6 times 0 plus 6 is 6. Plug in 0 for x, 6 for y, and yeah, that'll be 0 plus 6 is 6. So it's true on both. So you know that the answer is 0, 6. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that passes through the point with the given slope. Okay, so slope-intercept form, let's start with that. What is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form, and we want to write it in y equals mx plus b. The only way to be able to write an equation in y equals mx plus b is if they give you an m value and you also have a b value. Do we have a b value? No, we don't. Okay? So one option is to plug it in with point-slope form, which is, so you could plug in your slope and your point right into this point-slope form equation, but I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, you could, and then modify it to y equals mx plus b. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. I shouldn't say I wouldn't recommend that, because sometimes I do that. Another way of doing it is taking your x value and your y value. X is 1, y is 4. And since we want to write it in y equals mx plus b, use y equals mx plus b to plug in everything that they give you to find out what you're missing. So if you plug in the y being 4, you're going to have 4 equals the m value they gave you was 5. The x value that they gave you on your coordinate is 1, and then plus b. So you don't know b, but you do know the x and the y value that they give you. So plug in x, plug in y, and you'll have something that you could solve for b. So we end up with 4 equals 5, because 5 times 1 is 5, plus b. Then we're going to subtract 5 on both sides, and that'll be -1 equals b. So now that you know m and b, now you could write your equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals 5x minus 1 is your final answer right there. Now if you would have used point-slope form, you would have plugged in your y into the y1 spot, the x into the x1 spot, the 5 into the m, and you'd have to distribute the 5 and then get the y by itself, and you'd get the same exact answer, y equals 5x plus 1. I mean minus 1. Number 7, solving the systems. Well, in this case, it's already lined up for you. You have x's on top of x's, y's on top of y's, equal on top of equal, number on top of number. So it's a question of either manipulating one equation or both to get a variable to cancel. So what do you think is easier to cancel, x's or y's? X's. That's right, x's. Right? How are we going to get the bottom -7x to cancel with the top -7x? You have to change one of them, right? So let's change the bottom one, or the top, it doesn't matter. I want to change the bottom one to a +7. So the top one I want to leave the same, 7x, -7x that is, plus 7y equals 56. The bottom one, I'm going to distribute the -1 to each one of them. It's going to become +7x, -6y equals -45. Distribute that -1 into each of those terms, and you'll get what we have over here on the side. And now it's ready to combine and cancel. -7 and +7, the x's completely cancel out, no more x's. What do we have left? We have a +1y, or just y. You don't even need to write the +1 in front of it. Y, bring down the equal sign. Y equals, that is 11? All right, so we have one answer. We need the other answer. How do we find the other? Plug it in. Any one you want, right? So which one, top or bottom? Bottom, okay. So you have -7x plus 6y, but instead of y, I want to put parentheses, equals 45. Now why do I put parentheses? Because I want to take this 11 right here, and I want to plug it in right in there. There's my 11. So I really have a -7x plus 66 equals 45. And we're going to solve for x now. Subtract 66. Subtract 66. You're going to end up with -7x equals, what is it? -21. And of course, the final step would be to divide by -7. I ran out of space. If I divide by -7 here, divide by -7 there, you're going to get x equals 3. X equals +3. So your final answer as a coordinate is 3, 11. If you wanted to double check, all you have to do is plug it back into the original, see if it gives you true statements on both.